What's going on, everybody? This is Jacob with Boy Products, behind the scenes of the camera. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to properly clean your Boy natural bristle beard brush. So I have two of our brushes here on display. I have our natural classic firm bristle brush here, and I also have the medium soft bristle brush right here. The brush that we're going to be using to clean is my personal brush because it is about that time. It's the new year and hair is starting to build up, and it's just that time. Brush has got to get cleaned. So I'm going to be demonstrating with mine. The tools that I have a pan of hot water. It's soapy. You can use dish liquid, you can use a liquid beard wash if you have one, or some body wash, as long as you can get it nice and soapy. You don't have to use too much, but just enough to get some suds in the water. I also have some inexpensive combs here, which we're going to use to rake the hair out of the combs. Now, normally, you already know, we use wooden combs around here, but for this video, we're going to go ahead and use plastic combs for cleaning purposes. I also have a blow dryer here. The blow dryer is optional, but in this video we're going to use it because it's just easier to get the water blown out of the bristles faster and to blow it off of the wood faster, because we don't want water to sit on the wood for too long. So I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So we're using my brush. First thing we're going to do is soak it in this hot water. Now, the reason why I'm using this pan is because personally, I don't want something too deep. I like for the water level to be about right here. That way the entire brush isn't submerged in water. So I'm gonna let it sit for, well, normally I would let it sit for about 5 minutes, but for demonstration purposes, I'm not gonna let it sit for that long. But it's good to let it sit for about 5 minutes. That way the hot soapy water can do its thing, and it can start to loosen up any product buildup that may be in the boar bristles and along the surface level of the wood, where the wood and the bristles meet. So yeah, it's soaking now. You can also swish it around a bit. Again, I don't overkill it with the water. I'm not one to completely submerge the entire wood, just because there's a lot of detail in the wood. It does have a finish, so it can take it, but that's just my personal preference. I like to keep the water contact at a minimum. So I would say that's about long enough for the video. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this comb right here. I grab the comb that has the fine teeth and the less fine teeth. That way you have an option when you're combing and you're raking that hair out. So what we're going to do now, shake some of that water off. And again, I'm shaking some of the excess water off to minimize the water that runs into the wood. And again, it's okay. It's built well, but I like to minimize that. So now that it's nice and soapy, this is where you go and you start to collect all the hair. And it's gonna look gross, of course, before it looks good. And those of us with coarse hair, you know, we get buildup really. Our hair gets caught in our brushes really easily. But look at that, it's already looking better. It's already looking better. So I'm gonna clean that out. I'm gonna sit this back in the water. I'm gonna take my napkin. I'm gonna clean that off. Swish that around. So not only do you want to get the hair out of the brush, but you also want to make sure you're raking the brush, sorry. That way the teeth of the comb can scrape along the base of the brush to break up any product buildup that may be resting along the wood. So I'm raking it through. Also, with our brushes, you'll notice that the pattern of the bristles is pretty even at a diagonal type of pattern. So you can even run the comb diagonally through just to rake along the wood, just to break up anything that may be caked down at the bottom. And you can take a look with your own brush and just see how it's looking. My brush is relatively clean for the most part, or not, well, not so dirty, I should say. So rinse that out. Now I'm going to use the finer side just to make sure I didn't miss any hair. And you want to get as close to the wood as you can. That way you do a thorough job at cleaning your bristles. Another good technique is to take some of the soapy water, scrub the brush like this. I don't have any soap sitting here next to me, but you can put a little on your hands and really wash the bristles. Now, what you're also going to want to do is dump this out, get some fresh water, and rinse it nice and clean. So, got some fresh water. And I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to just give it a quick rinse in this fresh water, just to make sure all of the soap is out of the bristles. And what I'm doing, I'm almost brushing the pan. That way I'm sinking down into it to make sure that I'm getting the entire bristle. And that should do it. It's looking nice and clean. Look at that. Let's take a look. Looks good. So I'm going to pat it dry. I have my cloth right here. This is a microfiber cloth. You can use a cotton cloth if you like. The less length, the better for the purposes of cleaning these bristles. Yeah. Looks good, right? Nice and shiny. Natural sheen. All right. So now that the bristles are good, now I'm going to take this blow dryer and I'm going to use the cool setting or the low warm setting if you guys have that. I'm just going to blow along the sides brush through to help blow any water that might be resting along the wood. And that's it. You really don't even need that much. The bristles are already feeling a lot drier, but you want to hold off on using it for at least a day because the bristles are going to be a little softer, especially if this is your firm bristle. If you want them to remain firm, you need to let them completely dry. So the bristles look great. I do also want to touch the wood up. We have our logo that's engraved in the wood, and depending on how the logo gets etched into the wood, sometimes there'll be a little bit of raw wood that'll be showing inside of the logo. So I like to just recondition it. The majority of the brush is treated already, but when we etch our logo in, it cuts through. So what I am going to do is sit this down. I got just a little bit of coconut oil. I wanted to make this as practical as possible. That way you don't have to go out and spend any extra money, assuming you have some coconut oil at home. Just get a little bit of coconut oil. Coconut oil is a great natural conditioner. And I'm just going to run it along the outer surface.
Lights out.
Just to give it a little sheen. And it's also going to clean it. So if you have any dust build up along the handle of your brush, it's going to clean it off. And then you just take a dry part of a clean cloth and just buff it out. Just buff it out really good. Yep. And you could spend a little more time buffing it if you like. Again, you don't need a lot. I only do this mainly for the logo. That way the logo remains treated. But that's it. So the brush looks good. Brush is in good shape. The handle's in good shape. The bristles are nice and clean. You remember how they were in the beginning. And then lastly, what you want to do, you want to make sure that when you let it dry, you sit it bristles down, sit it on a flat surface. You would think to sit it like this, but in actuality, gravity is going to let the water, it's going to pull the water downward. You don't want to pull water down into the wood, because if the water gets into the wood, naturally it's going to want to expand the wood. So you want to just let it rest face down. That way any remaining moisture that are in the bristles will run down. That's why I have this here, and that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can contact us at info@natureboyproducts.com. Same technique applies to our soft bristle brush. This one's clean. I personally use the firm bristle on my beard, so this one's still clean, but it's the same technique. It's the exact same technique. And that is it.